Oftentimes, the biggest problems, the biggest challenges, the biggest roadblocks that stand in our way in terms of success on personal and financial levels have to do with the lack of ability to communicate effectively, the lack of ability to get your message across to the other person in a positive and a persuasive way. This is Paul Mascetta with The Influential Mind, and in this video I'm going to share with you 3 tips to communicate better. The first tip that I want to share with you is when you're communicating with someone is to put yourself in their shoes. So if we are in the persuasion cycle, if we're in the persuasion process, we need to think about this for a second. If you are suggesting or thinking one thing and the other person is suggesting or thinking something that's slightly different or slightly off the radar or in a different direction than what you're trying to tell them, you need to find a way to align the two. Because if both of you were on the same frequency, you wouldn't need to persuade them. They would have already said yes. So if a person needs to be persuaded, it's because they're on a slightly different frequency than you are. And one of the easiest ways to persuade people and to communicate more effectively with people is to put yourself in their shoes, to take a step back and ask yourself, what is it that this person could possibly be thinking? What is the reason why this person could have done what they have done, have said what they have said, or is thinking what they're thinking, or making the decision that they plan on making? Oftentimes, we try to justify what we think. We try to tell ourselves we're right. We try to tell ourselves that that person's wrong, and the only thing that that's going to do is create more resistance. Instead, you need to put yourself in their shoes, literally transport yourself into their mind and start thinking about why they may be thinking what they're thinking or doing what they're doing. One of the easiest ways to do that is through the second tip, which is to ask open-ended questions. The best way to figure out what someone's thinking is by asking them. And the easiest way to get information out of them is by using open-ended questions. So an open-ended question is a question that requires a descriptive answer, unlike a closed-ended question, which requires a closed answer. So a closed answer is something like, how long have you been at your job? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? It's a closed-ended, could be answered possibly with 1 word, maybe even 2. An open-ended question forces the person to be more descriptive and give you a more elaborate answer. Something like, do you enjoy your career? Where do you see yourself going in that career? What is your plan for the next 5 years? This forces the person to give you a more descriptive answer. And in them giving you that answer, you will get a better sense or a better grip or understanding of why they're thinking what they're thinking. And the last tip is to use the 2 first tips that I gave you and to actually listen to what the person is saying. So a lot of times when I share this stuff with people, they think that just asking the question solves the problem because it gets the person talking, it builds a little bit of rapport because it opens up the line of communication, and it does do those 2 things, but then they leave out the third part, which is to actually listen to what the person is telling you when they give you the answer to the question. Because what that is going to enable you to do is to begin to speak their language. A lot of times, what you want to talk to a person about is not what they want to talk about, but you know you have to talk about this one particular thing in order to effectively communicate with them. So what you do is you first start talking to them about the things that they are interested in or that they are open to talking about, and then you bridge the gap between what you need to talk to them about and what they want to talk about. And when you're able to do that, you're able to convey and communicate your message a lot more effectively. So just to recap, number one is to put yourself in their shoes so you can try to figure out exactly what it is that they're thinking. The second thing to do is to ask open-ended questions to get a little bit more feedback on what you may or may not be thinking is the reason why they're thinking what they're thinking. And then the third thing is to actually listen to the answer so that you can then begin to format your message in a way that's more conducive to what they want to hear, so that you can open up that line of communication and get both of you back on the same frequency. Want to know my simple 5-step process for influencing others? Click that link right there and download the Influence Blueprint absolutely free. Now, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, leave a comment, and make sure you subscribe.